All right, folks, we are live and kicking once more on a Drink with Charit, another edition. Welcome back. Another impromptu show, just, something we decided to do on a daily basis or every other day uh, due to what's going on happening in the country and the situation around the world. So we decided to have this show and a special guest, Mr. Rex Clementine. He's waiting to come on board, and so is my co-host, Boa Athu. He's on standby all the way from New Zealand. Before we start the show, peeps, there's a very special request and a notice that was sent to us by a group called Women in Need. And if you may, perhaps you can see the notice on the screen. Let me check it out. Yes, it's very clear. And we spoke about this earlier on. That I think during our last show, Boa, Azlan, and I, and we very specifically we mentioned that this is we named it. I think the Smackdown 3, that domestic violence, which is not acceptable, and it is on the rise. And this group of women have pleaded to get this message across to all the people out there. Peeps, abuse of women folk during this time, it's not acceptable. It's punishable by law, and this should not happen. They should not be abused, and it's criminal, it's immoral, it's not acceptable. And if anybody is abused, and if anyone in that situation right now, please note down the numbers on the screen and give a call. Police, the ministry is working very closely. Please refrain from harming our women folk. That's our future. Please don't do. On that note, let me bring Boa online. Boa, if you can hear me, Boa, we spoke about it, Boa. Just take it from there, mate.
I hear you loud and clear, Charit, and welcome everyone to another curfew special Wednesday night live from Colombo, and I'm live here from my Rugby Lab studios, Auckland, New Zealand. We've just gone into the start of a 4-week lockdown, so under house arrest. Lovely to have you guys here, and yeah, Charit, look, I have to say I'm really happy that this organization reached out to us, and that's one part of our goal achieved, because it's all about educating and making people aware. And it's really important that we talk about these issues. And if you're a woman out there who is in need, you don't have to suffer in silence where you're living in a relationship where there's domestic violence. It's just not acceptable. I mean, this is the year 2020, and no human should suffer that sort of physical and mental abuse. So it's time to speak up, time to speak out. So you've got all those numbers, and if you need help, you've just got to reach out, because these organizations, they do a fantastic job, and they're there for a purpose. So first and foremost, you have to have the courage and to come out and speak out. And it's a criminal behavior. I mean, whoever is resorting to this thuggish behavior, I mean, shame on you. You got to man up, and raising your hands or fists at a woman. It's not manly at all. So CS, I'm really pleased that women in need, beg your pardon, have reached out, and you can see all those numbers. They've got a 24-hour hotline. I'm really pleased. So this is the start. This is a small start for some steps forward, and hopefully this awareness is going to improve the situation.
Brilliant. Yeah, well said, Boa. They are a non-governmental organization, but working very closely with the Ministry of Women's Affairs and the Defense Ministry. So they are very well equipped to handle all this. If anyone has any issues, they can indicate to us on the show. I can bring it to the notice. The lady who's called me, Miriam Wadud, and she's listening to the show out there. And Miriam, as you requested, we gave you top priority to you, the issue that you are faced with. So hopefully we can overcome. On that note, Boa, let us bring in our special guest tonight, who's waiting eagerly to join us. Mr. Rex Clementine. And let's get Rex on the stream. Good evening, Rex. How are you doing, mate?
Good evening, Charit. I'm doing very well. How are you?
All well, all well. We were all excited to see the man of the moment. It's been a while that I've spoken to you, and I was selling Boa offline before you came online, and it's so strange that that all these years that you have always sat on the other side of the fence, and you have interviewed me over a period of time. Now it's today is our chance to get at you for all what you did to me over the years. Now it's the payback time, mate. To put you on the spot and ask you many questions,
Go
and
on,
you
Charit.
come out, or you as a fearless, very straightforward uh, journalist and a very senior journalist. And good to have you with us, Rex. My
Thank you for
first
having me,
question to
Charit.
you, the first question to you, mate, for the next 2 weeks, and as Boa said that 4 weeks lockdown in New Zealand, and Boa is a rugby guru, rugby statsman, and he has a show on papare.com. Boa speaks, or Boa analyzes, to that extent, and we are all out of work, looking up what is going on in this world. What are your plans, Rex, for the next 2 weeks? I believe that you are in the same boat, just like one of us. What are you going to do? How are you going to spend the next 2 weeks without any activity?
Oh, it's just gives us an opportunity, Charit, to go back and watch the highlights or even the full games of some of those memorable cricket encounters. Just a couple of hours ago, I was watching a game of the World T20 in 2012 against England at Pallekari, where you guys did the captaincy switch, Mala and you. And it's
Yes.
very interesting, and hats off to you guys to having the guts to do it. And you guys thought
Oh, the
long and hard
famous
about it.
swap. The famous swap that got me into trouble. Hold on a minute. Aslan is on. Aslan also has joined. Let me bring Aslan as well into the stream. Aslan, you're ready to come on the stream, mate?
Gentlemen, first of all, Rex, it's a real pleasure to be on the same show as you have. And interestingly enough, both you and I, we write own little columns on the papre.com. I've read a lot of your stuff behind the bowler's arm, some very interesting stuff. So I have to say, mate, it's a real honor, real pleasure to be co-hosting a show with Charit, talking to you because you're one heck of an interesting character. I love your writing style. You're not one of those guys who hides behind a pen or you're not one of those guys who writes what the powers that be want to hear.
Yeah.
So I have to say, I have a lot of respect for you and actually appreciate what you do. And I'm sure all
All
cricket
these good
fans.
stories given by some of my good friends, including Charit. He gave me the scoop about captaincy switch, and we broke the story. And like that. There's so many good people have been helping us to get our work done.
Of course,
But
of
what did
course.
you hear that story? Did you, like it was not given much publicity due to lots of, other reasons that, I will let Rex tell you relate the story, what happened in 2012 when, that Mahela was under a cloud, and, he was very worried about the overage, and that I came up with this crazy idea to swap captains, and, Rex supported me, the idea, and the media. By the way, Aslan still look,
Hi.
can you hear us, Aslan?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, okay. Rex, you can, mate, hang on a minute. The stream is full of, let me, quickly say hi to all these people who have sent messages. So many. You're a popular man, Rex. Yaziru Bandara, good to see. Rex, Ruan Fernando, hi, Charit. Looking sharp, Boa. Manix, yes, he's a pretty boy in the show. Suresh, yes, Rex is on now. Carol Toza watching. Mariam Vadu, thanks. I hope you heard us. We adhered to your request. And thanks, Boa. She says, hang on, somebody's asking. Rex Clementine, can you tell the viewers of the beauty products you use these days? Oh man, this is hilarious.
Fair and lovely. That's the one. Fair and lovely.
Very lovely.
Yeah.
Okay.
not been going out in the sun and, restricted indoors. So, probably that helps a bit.
That's a secret. There you go. Staying indoors, people. Stay indoors if you want to look sharp. That's the message. And yes, Errol Bird, greetings from Canada. Don Janaka, which past issues which appeared in the newspaper, what had happened, swept under the carpet. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Jude, thanks, mate. Good show. Dominic Wood, Rex is the real deal. Nice to see you on the show. By the way, Dominic Wood, this is a crazy story, guys. I must mention about Dominic. He's a guy who came with Barmy Army to Sri Lanka. And when the English team and the rest of the Barmy Army guys decided to get back to UK, Dominic decided to stay back in Sri Lanka. Now the guy is stranded somewhere in Goa. He's struggling to get to Colombo. He can't go home. So I thought I'll feature him on the show perhaps tomorrow. And at the moment, I think he's been eating biscuits and and water the last few days. I hope Dominic is fine. But with all what is going around him, but he's still got time to connect onto the show. It's brilliant. I think I got to stop. There are so many messages coming in. Dinesh, they say hi, Rex. Madhivanan, yes, sir. It's good to see my good friend Rex is with you. Yeah, it's good to have him. Rex, you're a popular man, mate. So many messages coming in, and that's what you can do is I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm not going to respond to all these people. I think it's a part of my show that we interact with the people who are on the show. Without people, we don't have a show. And Rex, also that some of the messages that as people may raise questions asking you. So when you have time, please go on the feed and you can respond to them.
Sure.
As and when you please. Yeah, Rex. Just going back to 2012. That was an interesting time. And I think without you guys, I think perhaps when everybody did not appreciate what I did, I did not do anything for my own benefit. Rex, the reason why I did it, Goa, I think what happened was, we were into the semifinals, and the team had an override issue. Aslan, you remember that? And one, I think, quarterfinal stage, and one more warning, Mahela would have been out. And that was the rule then. So I had this crazy idea, and day of the match, I got Kumar to walk out as a captain and to put the toss, and it confused everybody because the rules at that time did not specify. Like now, since then the rules changed. Like once you nominate a captain for the series, you cannot. Even if you send either Rex or myself or Boa or Aslan to toss, the captain gets the blame. They had to, they change the rules, but the rules were not very clear at that time. We exploited it, and yours truly got into trouble for doing that. And Rex and the media was very kind, and they supported me. And okay, anyway, it was the past. Thanks, Rex, for all the support now over the years, mate. That tell us how you. I think you were a journalist at the time. I was playing cricket for Anand, I think, going back, for a long time. Where did it all start, Rex?
I've followed you very closely, Charit. I actually did not get into journalism by then, much later. By the time the World Cup came, there were, big boys doing it, so we were still doing the club rounds and stuff like that. And, quietly got into journalism full time, like late 90s. Started off with Maharajas. They've always helped cricket and been a strong force behind cricketers. Then joined the cricket board and been at the island for now 17 years. It's been a long time.
Yeah, very long time. Aslan, you have anything to ask Rex? That you're looking up like Stevie Wonder at the moment, wondering what to ask him. Can you hear us, Aslan? No, Aslan can't hear us. Aslan? No, Aslan is struggling to get
I
on
can
the
hear
feed.
you. Hi.
Hi. Did you listen to what Rex said? He's got a dial up. That's the problem. Yeah. Have you met Rex personally?
I heard bits.
Okay.
I think we met Rex. Rex, we met at Coffee Bean, I think, if I'm not mistaken. About a year and a half ago.
Right.
Probably,
Okay.
I think.
Right.
With
With Shaq.
Yeah, Shaq, yeah, that's right.
right? It's a small world, and people meet. Rex, there are people that sent me a whole lot of questions. Like they want to ask you that. So but you come from a basketball background, right? That's how come you're. I see you like involved with
Yeah.
basketball all the time, and
Oh
how
yeah.
come?
I coach basketball, Charit. I
Yeah.
coach De La Salle at the moment. Uh, Tried my hand at cricket. Was never good at it. Then the next best option is to start writing about the game. So that's how
Right.
I got into cricket writing, and yeah, I've enjoyed it. Been sort of very interesting times. Seen lots of players start, struggle, go on to become legends of the game, and it's been an interesting time following Sri Lankan cricket.
Right, and as Boa mentioned at the start, that people consider you as a fearless journalist, and I think I also think the same, that you have been a very straightforward journalist, and that the content that you always that provide people is that very interesting stuff. As a journalist, do you have your favorites? And I know it's supposed to be an unbiased job. Do you like have personal favorites, or like that you dislike someone, or because the fact is, Rex, the pen is mightier than the sword. You can either make a player or you can break a player, and that's the power a journalist actually has. That
It's
in
nothing
your
like disliking anyone, Charit. It's just that you got a job to do at the end of the day. Some people will like it, some people will not like it, and the important thing is to be constructive in your criticism. There are times that I probably got carried away with things, but then as you mature and as you spend time, you learn a few things, and you tend to sort of look at things in a broader perspective. But overall, there's nothing called, having dislikes. It's just, uh,
no favoritism. Okay, all
yeah.
right. So you write on whatever on face value. Are you given a free hand to write what you want?
Yeah, I think fairly free hand, I would say. Papare has been great. They've never sort of, had any objections for whatever the stuff that I've written. And so has been the island. They've been sort of very supportive, rather. And yeah, I've got the privilege to go with the team wherever they go. And I've had a free hand in writing, as I see things. Sometimes I get into trouble, but there's sort of no restrictions as such. People have been very supportive.
Good stuff. Boa, do you have the same flexibility with Papare when you're with your work? Are you given a free hand?
Um, well, most of the time, most of the time. You see, the problem is, Rex, you'll probably relate to this. Most people in power who run, the respective sport, especially in the island nation of Sri Lanka, they have this issue where they have a fairly thin ego. They're not quite thick-skinned, and as a journalist, I'm sure most of the time you have to ask the hard questions. And when you do ask the question, it's not always what they want to hear. So when that's the case, then people start ducking for cover, and they take it the wrong way. So one of the things I've actually been wanting to ask you is, given that you're known as a fearless journalist, for anyone out there who wants to actually get into journalism, or any journalists out there listening, especially in a country like Sri Lanka, writing about cricket, what do you actually need to write in the manner, write in the fashion you do, uh, and yet be able to follow the arrows, the bullets they fire at you, be able to take it all in and keep doing what you're doing?
I think you see, when you sort of move with people over a period of time, and when they know that your intentions are good, and you don't mean any harm, they tend to sort of appreciate your work. That's been my experience. Initially, sort of you will have challenges. You will sort of be questioned on certain things sometimes that you do, but then when people realize over a period of time that you do not have any hidden agendas, and that you are trying to look at the greater good of the game, then people tend to sort of agree with you and move on. That's my gut feeling.
What's
And
what's
also,
Great
what?
stuff.
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, hang on. Sorry, Bua, go ahead. Yeah.
Now, I was going to ask, so in your career covering cricket, because it's the most high-profile sport, and it has a huge influence on society, politics, you name it. What's been the most interesting story, or what's the most daring story you've ever written about, where it was how can I put it? It was a lot of
Yeah, I
suspense.
get your point. I think, I would say 2002, when the ICC put down this particular clause into players' contract called the ambush marketing clause just before the World Cup. There was conflict of interest with the players, sponsors. It was actually mostly affecting India because, for example, if you take, one of the ICC sponsors was LG. But there were other Indian players, who had contracts with other companies. For example, one of the ICC sponsors were Pepsi, but some of the guys were endorsing Coke. So it was affecting the Indian players mostly, but the Sri Lankan players demanded 30% of the cricket board's earning. So at that point, I was quite young at the time, and there were 5 Sri Lankan players who sort of didn't want to sign the contract. So sometimes you had to sort of go hard at the issue because there was a wrong thing that they were doing, I felt. And as a result, some of the players don't get into good terms with you. And we've had some hard times, but then we have moved on. As you tend to move around with the players regularly. They understand your part of the thing as well. And right now, I've got a total different perspective to something that I had in 2002 about the whole incident. So like that, you tend to move on. Also, some of the interesting stuff is like I was part of the I was among the journalists who toured Pakistan when the Sri Lankan team came under attack, and it
Right.
was a
Yeah, I remember.
pretty pretty interesting experience as well. You see, usually when you have a Sri Lankan passport, it's not accepted at most places. But this was one time that I felt in Pakistan. You show your Sri Lankan passport, you can get anywhere. And they just, you show the passport, they embrace you, and they give you anything that you want, and you are taken out to all the places, and that was pretty interesting experience.
It's one place that our passport is widely accepted. Like you feel like that you are carrying one of a powerful passport because
Exactly.
brothers like us. Was your vehicle behind the Sri Lankan bus when they got attacked?
Oh yeah, sort of. They had, as Charit, the players sort of go into the ground pretty early. They arrive at the ground about 2 hours before start of play. We don't have to sort of, go so early. So I was actually having my hotel was pretty close to the Lahore cricket stadium, and it's just actually walking
Right.
distance. So the guy who alerted me was a cameraman, a Sri Lankan cameraman called Kapila Kumar. He just told me, mate, this thing has come over. So as I was trying to come into the ground, a lot of police presence, the forces, and they were not letting you go in. So I showed the Sri Lankan passport, and everything is clear. Sort of, I got to go in, but lots of Pakistani journalists were locked out. They were not allowing them to go in. So I became the
Right.
sort of only person to sort of, where they can sort of rely on what was going on inside. And I think Reuters carried a story saying that one Sri Lankan player got killed. So, I had to
Right.
verify that and say that, no, it's not so. Everyone is safe. And although a couple of guys are seriously injured. So, yeah, it was pretty interesting couple of hours until the moment the players got airlifted. Pretty scary, but quite interesting as well.
Scary stuff.
Charit,
Yeah,
just a quick one to add to that. It's very funny and very ironic, and maybe your life was saved as a result of Kapila's quick response at the time. But why? I'll tell you why this is so funny to me, because the last 5 tours that we've been doing, the big screen production for the local tours, all the international tours here, the name that constantly gets picked on by the foreign TV director is Kapila for missing something or the other. So on this occasion, Kapila is the first one to spot it, and at a
Yeah.
very important time.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
know.
really
And
great.
there's another funny thing. Thilan Samaraveer scored a double hundred the day before, and for some strange reason, he did this after scoring double, and I have no idea why he did that. And still, I keep asking him, why did you do that? He has no idea as well. And the following day, he got shot. There was an interesting thing. There was this something like stats because Thilan had scored 100 in Karachi and he scored 100 in Lahore as well. So we were taking a list of all the guys who had scored back-to-back double hundreds, and I think the we thought that it was 4, but then it was wrong, and it was something like 8 or 9. The following morning, soon after I got the news that the team had come under attack, I called this guy called Shahid Ashmi, one of my friends who works for AFP. I said, Shahid, shit scene, we got it wrong. Then Shahid, no, I said, Shahid, shit scene, there's some bad news. Then Shahid said, yeah, I know, we all got the stats wrong, it should have been 9 or 10. And then I said, no, forget about the stats. I'm not talking about the stats. The team has got under heavy attack. And then, he got shocked and he came to the ground as well quickly. Yeah. So lots of things to, tell on that incident.
Yeah, I think I was one of the first guys to get to the airport to receive the team. I was with Sri Lanka Cricket, and Thilan was badly injured. I think Boa Azlan, I think a bullet ripped his, the hamstring or the side of the thigh, and then he had a massive wound. And he's one of the guys who was badly injured. Wasn't a very pleasant experience at all to see the whole team in dire straits, and incident we would rather forget.
There's what a lot of people don't know is that Surangal Akmal, he was on his first tour, and he's still got a metal piece on his left leg. Wow. He's still got it. And he can't go for surgery, unfortunately, because if he goes for surgery, the doctors have told him that he'll be out of cricket for about 18 months. Wow. He's delaying the surgery until he's finished with his cricket. But he's got a lot of trouble, when he's at the airports, when he's going through metal detectors, he's got problems. And suddenly, airport guys ask, what's wrong? So he's got to show all his medical reports and, to explain things to the guys. Wow. And then only, so it's a pretty, very disturbing story. And such a nice guy, Surangal Akmal. And as manager, you would have experienced the thing as well, Charit. Probably you would be in a bit of a position to tell us more.
Yeah, it is like, when you talk of life and what people have to undergo at times, you wonder if there's something, supernatural or something bigger out there. And I was a team manager up to that particular tour. And I just swapped jobs. I took over as head of marketing at Sri Lanka Cricket, and Brendan
became,
Brendan went on the tour as manager, and it was so ironic. And when the whole incident happened, Brendan was online to me. We were talking about some sponsorship issues and about logos and the kit, and then I heard the shots, and actually Brendan didn't know what the hell was happening. It was the last thing that anyone expected. Some group of terrorists to shoot at the vehicle, and then Brendan shouted at me saying, "We've been shot. We've been shot." So I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Suddenly someone screaming at the other end that he's been shot. And I still remember with my phone in my hand, I ran down to speak to my CEO, who was then Mr. Dulip Mendes. And then I told Mr. Mendes that our team is shot. Dulip was like, how Dulip is, he takes everything very lightly. I said, what the hell are you talking about? I said, listen to this. And I could literally, Brendan kept me on the line. I could hear the screams and shots being fired. And that was horrible. And actually, I never expected the boys to survive, but for whatever grace that we survived, and we still talk about it. And Rex, that you were first-hand experience, that you were there on the spot. You saw what happened. It wasn't we all we can do is hope and pray that forget Sri Lanka, or or how many people, all those people who died, the armed forces of Pakistan.
11 guys
died. Guys died, and so all we can say is hope and pray that nothing like that will ever happen again to any other team, a sporting team or otherwise, that it shouldn't happen. And one of the reasons I must mention here that you three guys, all as journalists and all outspoken, one of a kind guys. That's one of the reasons why you're on my show. Guys, all these days that we have not spoken much about what AZ is up to. AZ started a show called No Host Barred, right, AZ?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and it's a podcast, right? And you are like Rex, that always, it was called, and is the show still going on, or what's happening, AZ?
Actually, Charit, what happened was we have shifted our entire strategic direction of the company, because, as you know, I along with Shaq, and one of the leading digital agencies in Sri Lanka, we started Sri Lanka's first and only podcast platform, and we are still very much operational, and we have about 10 podcasts that come out a week, which is a big sum for Sri Lanka, of course.
Right.
So well, we are venturing out into education, and we have ventured out into more of a Sinhalese perspective and more social experiments and things. So I still have a vlog that I do where we go out there, and in fact, we did speak about cricket as well. We did an interesting experiment about 2 months ago where we took I think on the Zimbabwe tour, we took the team's picture when we went to the people on the road and asked them how many of the cricketers in this picture can you correctly recognize and say their names. And obviously there wasn't, I don't think, any more than 3 or 4 players that the people in the crowd knew. So and we spoke to about 25-30 different people. So I'm very much involved in cricket, as you know, Charit, not just with my outspoken vlogs, but also with the big screen productions that we've done over the last couple of years and all that. But I love the game. I have read quite a few articles of Rex as well. I think, in fact, the reason why we met Rex was also because we were asking Rex to join our platform, which Rex politely refused.
Yeah,
But
I've got too many things on my plate, mate.
Rex, you
sure.
have a similar show, right? You have a similar, I don't know whether it's a podcast or like,
No,
you
it's
have.
a video thing. Probably, I mean, you are one of the guys in the list next, Charit. What we do was
Wow.
we speak to, yeah, we've done about
Is it
20 now. We
all
do
right?
interviews of ex Sri Lankan cricketers, and it's been
Right.
sort of pretty interesting. But then uh, being held up for big matches and stuff like that. Hopefully, we'll be able to
Right,
resume
great
soon.
stuff. Okay, and there's a point that Aslan raised a very interesting point, Rex. You as a journalist, there's that the public does not recognize our current national players, and the time we played that that we did not have massive TV coverage, and it's all up to you guys, that it's the print media that carried the show, and you would have seen the transition, that like the famous song, did the videos, what do you call, the video star kill the radio star, just has the electronic media taken over the print media, that the why is there still an appeal, people read what's appear on print media, or where does it stand, Rex? Where is the whole thing going?
I think the fact that I mean the team doesn't do well means people don't watch a lot of cricket, and maybe I mean they're not sort of very familiar with some of the young players. But then I mean obviously you see a lot of passion. I mean when you move around the streets, people still. I mean every street boys playing cricket and things like that. I think it's just my feeling is I mean this is just a temporary phase that we are going through a bad patch. I mean, all the teams go through patches, but our period of this transition is a bit too long because our domestic cricket is not so strong and our players struggle to sort of bridge the gap. I mean, if you take, I mean, some of the young players that we've got, like Kusal Mendes, immense talent, and I mean, lots of people, during the Asia Cup, if you we were speaking to Waka Yunus, a couple of us off the record. We were just having a chat. I mean, he was amazed with the kind of shots that Kusal plays, and so is Niroshan Dikwella. I mean, Waka was asking, have you seen any player who's prepared to scoop Kagiso Rabada for the first ball that he faced? I mean, the courage is quite amazing. So, I mean, this it's not just nothing short of talent. I think it's just we are struggling to sort of I mean bridge that gap, and I do believe that we'll be able to fix things up sooner than later.
Charit, just to quickly add to that, in fact, I think about a year ago we approached Sri Lanka Cricket. I don't think you were involved at the time in any capacity, Charit. We did approach them to do something like a video. I don't know. Boa must be familiar with this. The All Blacks released a video called All or Nothing, a little movie. So we wanted to do a video for Sri Lanka Cricket because of this very reason. The fact that people are all focused on the results and don't sometimes consider that the cricketers, even the modern crop of cricketers today, the current guys, are also the guys who are putting in the same sacrifices that the previous generation have put in. They have the same talent, they have the same skills. It's just that, like Rex was saying, because of the domestic the competition in the domestic circuit, they are not able to keep up with the global competition, which has sort of really gone up in leaps and bounds with their local domestic competitions and big bash leagues and IPLs and all of that. So I think we wanted to do a little video showcasing what really goes behind the scenes, the work these guys put in terms of waking up at 5 in the morning, the sacrifices they make that every other bloke doesn't make. All of us, Charit, you made it to the national team. I myself tried to make it, but clearly found out around 17 that I wasn't good enough, so I stopped and focused on things that I believe I'm better at, right? So we've all tried, right? We've all tried, and it's just many of us, when we judge, like you said, that first ball scoop Niroshan Dikwala played against Rabada, if that had gone wrong, and obviously there are several occasions where it had gone wrong for Niroshan, as we all know, people don't realize that it's just 0.6 seconds or 0.5 seconds to make a decision, and that if we were in that same scenario, we could do it. So that they are able to even compete is because they make those sacrifices. So we wanted to showcase that in a film, but that fell on deaf ears, I think, and blind eyes.
Gentlemen, I just want to butt in there, and I just want to make a very strong point, which I felt has been one of the key issues with cricket and the island nation. I think one of the reasons why no one actually knows who the heck these players are, there's such a big disconnect between fans at the first class Premier level and the product, which is what you call the Premier grade, the domestic product, the domestic cricket comp. It just does not correlate to the fans. And because there's this big gap and big divide, and there's been a systematic kind of degeneration of the level of cricket we play, and I'm sure a particular club team or in the larger scope of things, they really don't care. I don't know, that's my take on it, because I can look at a number of different sports right around the world where this same issue keeps popping up. The main reason is there's such a big disconnect, because when was the last time any of you guys have actually seen a first class game where there was a decent crowd?
There's never.
Well, there you go. That's the answer. No.
We lost Rex briefly. Let me bring Rex back in. Hang on a minute. Yeah, Rex is back on. Rex is back on.
But just to add to that point, I mean, I remember when I was going, when I was doing my cricket, when I was like 15 or 16, that was 20 years ago. Ooh, so long. But when I was playing cricket at SSC on weekends there, I remember the matches that were going on. There used to be all the superstars playing in first class games. And on any other day, Sri Lankans would have paid 1,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees to go watch these guys play. But obviously, the fact that it's so poorly presented and marketed, that nobody was there to watch all our international our players, our national team in action.
Look, guys, I have a suggestion which I'd like to put forth, because this is something I've been toying around with rugby. The way professional players in the country are remunerated needs to be seriously looked at. And one of the suggestions I'd like to put forward is that all the players who get selected to play for the country, they actually need to be paid by the minute for every run they play, and you need to focus more on performance-based remuneration as opposed to giving them set contract. The problem here is whether you score or you don't, you get a set contract, you sit on your backside, and you sit on your laurels. And unfortunately, because it doesn't produce results, there's no real motivation or inspiration when you want to go out and do the business. And what tends to happen is people will sit back, play their first class competition, or the next best option after themselves go overseas and play over. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point, Rex. One of the things I need to ask you, since the boys brought back, they are focused on domestic cricket. I remember the time I used to play, and the write-ups we used to have in the local press was massive, and starting from schools, all the big matches were highlighted, and over the years I have seen the coverage that we get. If you take Division 1, and your coverage, like on a day-to-day basis, is not even a half a page, and only the chief scores, is no write-up about the matches, and you are actually not giving anyone who buys the paper has no idea what has happened. Yes, you see the chief scores and very briefly, but I don't know whether you got at ground level, whether you got enough journalists to cover these matches, give enough coverage.
I
I think it's
think
up to.
what has happened, Charit, is I think, to be very honest, we've got too many domestic games. I mean, in your days, how many first class matches you had for a season?
Good point.
This.
8 games, 8 teams. Yeah, yeah. Good
Yeah, so
point.
I
Yeah.
think what it's not the issue of we are having not enough people to cover stuff, but then it's too difficult to cope up with the number of games that you are going to cover. It's not only with club cricket; it's the same with school cricket. School cricket, of course, it has happened to the good. Lots of schools have started playing cricket in the last 20 years than what it used to be. So that's a good sign. But certainly, with regard to domestic cricket, there's a couple of issues that we need to sort out, and
So,
also
Rex,
the
would
fact
you?
that something that lots of players have been telling, particularly Kumar Sangakkara, he's been harping on the fact that we need to sort of pay our domestic cricketers decently. At the moment, what we pay our domestic cricket is shocking compared to what the international stars get paid.
Well, Rex, I would actually beg to differ because I
Mm,
think the more amateur the game is at the domestic level, where the real carrot is to make your name to
the jump, exactly.
yeah, to really make the step up. Because, for example, at the moment, New Zealand rugby is a perfect example because
Mm-hmm.
the way the structure works, to qualify to play for the All Blacks, you must play locally in New Zealand. And of course, the competition for selection is Super Rugby. Now, because the focus is so heavily at the top, you don't actually see a lot of the professional players, All Blacks, play in domestic competition at lesser or grassroots. Now, with the stand
I,
down COVID-19, this is the perfect opportunity to restructure, get rid of the Super Rugby, force more of the superstars to play in the grassroots competition. That will bring back the crowd. Now, for example, I'm involved as the director of rugby in a local Auckland club. Now, we've had a number of guys who play for the Auckland website as well as the Blues. Now, the local club crowds have dwindled over the years. One of the reasons is most of the guys who play, no one actually knows. Stars aren't there. So maybe this same stand down period probably where Sri Lanka cricket can really get a thinking point
Yeah,
because I see the same parallels.
I get your point, but one of the things I think, Charit, you need to sort of talk to him if you have not already done. Naveed Nawaz, who helped Bangladesh to go on to win the Under 19 World Cup, pretty tremendous achievement by them. Naveed Nawaz told me during a recent interview that why we are struggling at the moment is because rather than investing on our domestic cricket, we are letting our players to go to places like Australia and England, play a very low level of cricket. And, economically, they are sort of, looked after by going to either Australia or England, but then it doesn't do any justice to improve their game. It's a very interesting point, I thought. And if you are planning to, chat to Navid, you can probably, expand on it when you have a chat.
Yeah, very interesting point. I mean, I know Navid very well, very close to me. And I have known Navid for a number of years and played together. And his pre Sri Lanka, stint, and after that we've been great friends. And I wish him all the very best. And it's a massive achievement. I think no coach has done in the country. Winning a World Cup, coaching a World Cup team. All the very best, and very proud of Navid. Yes, now I am coaching BRC at the moment, Rex. And I'm faced with that problem. We do all the hard work during the season.
You qualified for the next
Super
round,
8?
is it?
Yes, we
Super
did.
8,
Yes,
yeah.
we did.
Congratulations, Charit. Well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's
Right.
And I hear the Tilak Ratna boys are doing pretty well for the club.
I think the boy, he's been around, and but the way he blossomed this season, and I think I'm privileged to do work with the boy, and we put in a lot of hard work in, and he's a great boy, and very unlikely of Ashan Tilakaratna compared to his playing days. If Ashan is listening, very disciplined boy, unlike the father. Tough bloke, and
But
he
I
listens
tell
to
you,
his coach.
Charit, what a character Shami is. If I'm told to choose someone to fight for my life, I would have no hesitation
Hang on, we are coming
picking
there.
Ashan.
We are coming to the quick fire section. We'll put you on the spot. We'll ask you who your favorite players are. All the questions. Just Hashan. But the Dubindu is a great kid. He has done wonders. I think he's one of the reasons why we are in Super 8s, and tremendous. I think his strike rate is about what average. He's been taking 8 to 10 wickets per match. So it's massive
And
achievement.
he is the highest wicket taker in the competition, Charit, if I'm not mistaken.
By far at the moment, yes. But
And what a
having said.
fantastic fielder he is.
Yeah, he is. But the fact is, the Ambul Denia is also one of, another guy who has worked very closely with me. And the only game Ambul played, I saw him getting 9 wickets in the last game. All 4 leading wicket takers are in this season are all left arm leg spinners for some reason. They're getting the ball away. Just it's a very interesting fact that if you can, that if you can look into it, there's that's what I'm going to say is like players going overseas. We finished our season in 4 months, right? And the boys, their remuneration is not bad. I mean, nothing fantastic compared to the other test playing nations. But from Sri Lankan standards, perhaps it's okay. The boys can have a decent kind of living. But what do they do off season? They have no other option. So they go all around the world and play in different leagues. And the biggest problem we have, as you rightly said, when they come back, all the hard work we have put in during the season, they have forgotten. And suddenly you see players coming and playing a different ball game. So it takes them another 3 or 4 games to settle back into the local scenario. So that is something I noticed as a first-time experience that I have as a coach. And they are good players, but as you rightly said, that once you start playing in a lower league, do you lower your standards? But what do we do? Where do we draw the line? The boys don't get paid off season. What do you think, Rex? Who is going to pay these boys the balance 8 months? So the poor guys, they go to either England or Australia and get a decent living.
Yeah,
They probably that's the money that supplement them during the season here.
Yeah, I think I get your point, Charit. But what I'm trying to say is, what we need to find out is there a way to sort of raise the match fees? Or, get players contracted into the clubs? Or, there was an idea sometime back to get them contracted into the provinces. I'm sure, there are ways and means to address this issue. And people have sort of, realized, yeah, there is a problem or two in that area. But unfortunately, nothing serious seemed to have been done.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
just,
not about money at the end
just,
of the day.
okay.
I have to
Can
say,
I? Sorry.
yep, carry on.
No, go for it, boy. Go for it. Just go for it.
So what I was going to say was, this is a problem with all sports and also all sport leagues around the world, where professionalism, they're grappling with professionalism and their priorities. So my clear cut opinion on this is that the professional governing body, in this case SLC, is probably spending money in the wrong places. So it's not a case so that the money isn't there; they're probably spending it in the wrong avenues. And this would be a brilliant time to look at reforms and restructure on how the domestic competition is structured and how it is remunerated, and also it would be a great opportunity to strike a TV deal and a webcast deal, because getting eyeballs on the domestic game and getting web traffic to come in, that's where the revenue is. I mean, that is the model which works right around the world. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. All you have to do is get the wheel in the right road and make sure that you have a vision where you can get the right amount of revenue coming in, and it has to be put down on paper so that players earn the money. Nothing is given. This is the problem. Success is never owned. The problem is when you offer people lucrative contracts, they have this idea that I own success. No, you don't own success. Success is leased. And guess what, guys? Rent is due every day.
Sure, good
But
point. Yeah,
can I add to that? Can I
go
add
on.
to that
Yeah,
quickly? Just a quick thing, Charit. I think that I've
yeah.
also heard this story for the last 15 to 20 years about the fact that we don't get paid as much as the Australian counterparts or the Indian counterparts. But I think there's another factor we need to take into account. I have no idea about the finances of Sri Lanka cricket and what goes on at the back. But if you take it from an economic perspective, if you take the median income in a country like Australia, it's about $48,000, if I'm not mistaken, right? The last time I checked, sometime about a couple of years ago. In Sri Lanka, the median income is about $3,600, which is about 12 times less. Right now, I'm not saying that this is the basis on which how you remunerate your cricketers, but if you have to factor that in as well, because at the end of the day, Sri Lanka cricket is a business that's operating, yes, within an international framework, but it's operating here. And if you take the domestic circuit as well, all the costs and everything that the cricketers and the clubs and all go through are local costs, not international costs. It's local costs. So if you take that 12 times less, what my question is, are international cricketers making 12 times less than what the Australian cricketer is making?
Rex, I think you
I
probably okay. Let me answer that. Comparatively, I think we are a little lower than. We are not the lowest paid. To answer your question, I think below us are Bangladesh, probably West Indies, and Zimbabwe now. Yeah, but we are, I think, somewhere in the middle. I think we are little below Pakistan, but I think the national players are properly remunerated compared to Sri Lankan standards. I would put it that way. I don't know, Rex, whether you'll agree with me or not.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Charit, on that.
Yeah.
But then,
So then,
the thing is, in places like Pakistan, West Indies, and Bangladesh, even, right now they've got their own leagues, the BPL, PSL, or the Caribbean Premier League, and stuff like that. So, that sort of seem to be financially looking after the players well. And we haven't still found anything of our own.
I mean, look at Afghanistan. Sorry.
That's it. There again, I mean, so the focus is on the local domestic competition. You have to come up with a product which is viable, where you get a broadcaster on board who will bankroll it, and you have to create a remuneration system where players are forced to perform. You can't just. I am not a fan at all of giving people big bucks, what we call fat cat contracts,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so that pay or not they get paid. No, you have to earn every dollar. And I have to say, guys, where the most successful teams right around the world, it's only the top, 3-4% who are on the mega bucks. Everyone else, they
Absolutely.
fight on a daily basis to get to that apex. I think this is what
Yep.
this is what a lot of people don't understand. They think that, just because you get into the first class setup, you're set for life. No, absolutely not. I mean, it's the same anywhere in the world. It's a slightly, numbers are a relative thing. But to be duly sure that, we're talking the correct comparisons, we have to actually look at scientific literature and compare the numbers. We have to look at comparative countries, what median wage players are getting paid, what is the standard deviation between your tier 2 and tier 1 contracts, and that will give us a far better picture of what we're actually talking about. And I think there's a lot of non-scientific rationale, and that's the feeling I get, because I haven't done a proper research thesis in this particular area. But what I'm saying is, whatever decisions on remuneration and restructuring need to be done, it's like creating policy. You have to look at scientific numbers and evidence and data, and then go ahead and make the call.
Great stuff, Bo. Rex, food for thought. Probably, you can write an article on, based on your comparison with, that's, that you were wondering what to do for the next 2 weeks. That's something you can focus upon.
That's one thing, Charit. And another thing that I've got in mind is today is the anniversary of Ravichandran Ashwin Mankading Josh Butler. So the message is clear. The message is clear. Stay inside. Don't step out.
Right.
Stay inside,
Nice.
And yeah, brilliant stuff. Any idea that one of our guys, Sachin Trasanayak also did the same, right?
Exactly.
And that was also Josh Butler. Josh Butler, yeah.
Again, Josh Butler, he's the same culprit. Yeah, so once you don't make mistakes twice, so it is not a mistake. So you got to be deliberate.
I think why
Josh Butler, you'll be one carded the next time.
Anyway. I think, he tends to be sort of, taking some advantage by doing that, and people have realized that, this can't go on. And I think Sachitra did. I think it was in Manchester.
Yeah.
The previous game, they found out that he was stealing.
I think Josh Butler must be having a Sri Lankan side to him, because no matter how much he's supposed to stay in, he seems to want to go out. So.
You mean jump the queue? Always jump the queue.
Exactly.
That's true. Right. Okay. Question time. There are many questions. Here we go, guys. Get your questions towards our special guest. Hang on. Akhil Masoon. Good to see you, Rex. What is the movie you prefer watching again and again these days?
Talabadi.
What?
It's a Tamil movie. I think.
Tanapati. Yeah. Okay. All right. And this is a tricky one, mate. This is a tricky one. Before I start questioning you, one guy is asking you, whom do you reckon best out of Ranatunga brothers? Sanjeeva reckons he's the best out of the lot by a mile. And
Sanjeeva.
There you go, Manix. If you're listening out there, that's a very blunt answer, mate. Okay, now Aslan, good question. Dominic Wood, these are numbers. Dominic Wood knows what our players are getting paid. Very interesting. I don't know how he managed to get that. He knows much more than I do. Good on you, Dominic. It's something. Yeah, I don't want to go there. And these are secret stuff, which I don't want to talk about. Players remuneration, you don't talk. Someone's salaries, that's something. It's not. I don't know. I mean, that's we can give our suggestions, but you do not don't want to talk on a public forum. These are confidential stuff.
I think there is a site, Charit. I think there's a site that provides this information based on any form of. I don't know what the sample is, but based on a very small random sample, they provide these information. He's probably got it from there. Oh, ESPN Quick Info.
All right. If it is public knowledge, that's fine. But that's something something personal and something that we do not want to divulge. And Rex, who's the guttiest cricketer you have seen in your life? Your entire guttiest cricketer.
Ashant Tilakaratne.
Ashant Tilakaratne.
Yeah, I mean, I covered a game at Centurion. Which year was that? 2002, I think. He was getting hit all over the body. By Donald, Sean Pollock, Nitini. They went on to make 100. The first ever 100 scored by a Sri Lankan in South Africa. What a fantastic player.
Yeah, I remember that knock. Boa. That we discuss about it. Hashan, if you look at it, yes, he's a talented player. He's one of the hardest cricketers that I have ever seen in my life. That I have played with Hashan. Limited talent, but it's a guy who had really, worked at his game, and he may be he probably will appear to be a crazy guy off the field, but he's once on the field. I think he's one guy who gives 200%, mate. He's an absolute fighter. You know, I was just kidding when I said, Duwindu, there's no resemblance to his father. I think everything what Duwindu is, although Duwindu is a bowler and Hashan is a batter, that the good quality is instilled in these two boys. They're twins, and it's all, I think it overlapped to Hashan, and yes, I wouldn't agree with you. You are a guy who had seen a lot of tough innings played by Sri Lankan, and if you call, it's a big call, mate. Hashan's inning, not many people remember that. That's a brilliant call, and I agree with you. I mean, it's one of the toughest innings that I have seen and I have heard about. That's all credit to him. Brilliant.
Quick question, Rex. Sorry, quick question, Rex. At the time, you just said he was getting peppered with short runs by Pollock and Entini. I remember? I don't recall Hashan ever wearing a helmet with a visor on.
No grill. It's just
Exactly. Yeah, that was.
And the interesting thing is, it's so sad. Hashan had been dropped after the '99 World Cup, and he stayed out of the game, international cricket, for 2 years. But every season in domestic cricket, he used to score, over 1,000 runs.
Yeah.
And there was no way that the selectors could keep him out after that, and they had to bring him. So he was brought back for Test cricket, and he was scoring heaps and heaps of runs. He went to South Africa, scored the first ever Test 100 by a Sri Lankan on South African soil, and the World Cup was just around the corner.
Absolutely.
The World Cup was just around the corner. The chairman of selectors, Guy Alvis, bless him, he's no more. He decided that we needed Hashan's services for the World Cup, and he had a decent World Cup in 2003.
Great stuff. Yeah, Azlan, you're right. Dominic said it's available, information available on ESPN Cricket Info, published in 2017. I'm sure that has been reviewed and changed since, for the past 3 years, but at least it's there. The figures are there, so nothing to hide. And tell me the most generous cricketer that you have ever come across, the generous cricketer.
Oh, Muralidharan.
Tough one.
Yeah, Muralidharan, I would say. It just, it's just an amazing guy, I think when the shooting incident happened in Pakistan, it's just basically, give away all the money that he had for the bus driver. It's not the only instance that I've seen at other places as well, he's got a golden arm. He's got a golden heart as well. And, you've seen on numerous occasions giving out freely for charity and for people who are in need. So, yeah, it's got to be him.
Charit, quickly. Charit, quick one. On the topic of Murali, there is a picture floating around of Murali standing in line at a supermarket. I don't know if that's legit or not. Maybe Rex might know.
I'm not surprised. He's one guy, who would sort of follow the rules, who would not want any VIP treatment. And there are some amazing stories that I can tell if you guys got the time. And I've seen the sweet side of him. Sometimes he's very focused and stuff. He can be. For some people might think that he's rude and stuff like that, but that's Murali for you. But then, when you see him off the field, the things that he does, there's enormous amount of respect for the guy.
Yeah, Murali is crazy. Lots of things to talk about him. I think the picture that I'm not too sure whether the picture you're talking about him standing in a supermarket is legit, but I heard that he decided to stay in the queue, when he came from India, when the people were screened for the virus. And although Murali was given the option to go stand in front of the queue, but Murali opted to go in the queue. So hats off to Murali, and he led by example, and that's the way it should be. And brilliant, yeah. And yeah, there are more quick question for Rex. Madhav Varnapura, Bandula's son, average 36, suffered from reverse nepotism or not good enough to win a Test cap. Your opinion?
Madhavanapura. Not too sure about talk about Madhava. What I can tell you is about Malinta Varnapura. He was when we won our first Test match in West Indies. He was a man of the match. I think he got 100, tough 100. But we got very few opportunities after that. I think that was. Pretty tough call on Malinta Varnapura. Madhav Varnapura, unfortunately, I'm not in a position to talk because I don't cover domestic cricket. There's another person who does that for us, and therefore I'm not in a position to talk on that.
Yeah, just to answer Dominic, BRCV played against Nigambo last week, where Madhava played. It's pretty impressed, pretty committed player. I think, I think he's Madhava, at his peak, perhaps, it's about time that, he should be, I think he should be called into one of the provincial teams. The selectors should have a look at Madhava, it looks a brilliant player to me. Top team man and good middle order bat. I think he's playing his best cricket at the moment. Perhaps it's a time that they should have another look at him. Rex,
But
okay, Aslan, go on, Aslan.
No. I just want to add to it because you said you weren't aware. I just checked the info for you. So basically, Madhava has a first class stat of 101 matches at an average of 35.95 with a highest score of 200 not out and a strike rate of 45. So pretty decent stats.
Yeah, Rex, I know that sometimes that some of the pictures that you post on Facebook and that the little I have seen that with my involvement in Sri Lanka cricket, you perhaps have the best seat at the grounds. You get the where you are seated. What is the best venue that you have seen in your life and you consider the best?
Oh yeah, Charit. I tell you a small story. We were once in Essex, Chelmsford, beautiful ground. Mr. Andrew Tenakon was the manager of the team, and so he used to, come to the press box, and while there was a practice match between Essex and Sri Lanka, Kumar Sangakkara got a double 100. He was asking casually. There were some senior journalists, myself, there was Said Tawfiq, Daminda Vijay Surya, Calistus Devi. So he just casually asked, guys, you've been through all the grounds in the world. What's the which ground do you like most? Where have you got the best facility?
Yeah.
All four of us agreed that it's got to be Galle International Cricket Stadium. And you know what Mr. Tendakon said at that point? Mr. Tendakon said, I say, this guy, Jayananda Varnaveda, he knows whom to keep happy. Some of these guys that I have names that of journalists that I'm telling you, they've been to places like Lords, they've been to places like, Cape Town, Newlands, Christchurch, Eden Gardens in India, National Cricket Stadium in Karachi, MCG in Australia. They've been to all these places, but all of them chose Galle Stadium.
Interesting, guys, isn't it? Yeah, I've been to it. If you guys have been there to that media section at Galle CC, it's brilliant. That whoever who planned, if it is Jananda Varnavira, all credit to the guy, and also the hospitality that if I say this, Rex, the hospitality that you get in our country is the best compared to any other country. That
for
media.
Absolutely, by far, Charit. Our people really. That we hear that from journalists from overseas as well. People really take care of foreigners who come here to cover cricket, and the hospitality is amazing. Particularly in the southern part of the country, I've experienced quite a bit of hospitality in Galle. Not to say that other places are bad, and even in Hambantota, in south, you feel that people are sort of the warmth is amazing in down south.
Great stuff. What's the worst place that you have been to in the world?
That's got to be Calcutta, mate. There's so much of talk about Eden Gardens and it's being one of the best grounds in the world, but I tell you what a horrible place that is.
Wow. That's see, everything that we hear people talk about the Eden Gardens being one of the
it's an iconic venue. It's such a historic place, and so much of passion. Charit, you wouldn't believe if the game's starting, if it's a 2020, if the game is starting at 7 o'clock, right? From 3 o'clock in the afternoon, people are in the queues trying to get into the ground. The passion is amazing.
Yep.
It's an unbelievable place, Calcutta. But unfortunately, people have not taken efforts to make sure that the facilities for fans are, decent enough. But hopefully, now there is a very interesting person as the president of Bengal Cricket Association, Saurabh Ganguly. Let's hope
Yeah.
he fixes this issue.
It's probably
quantity
also
over quality, isn't it?
sorry,
Quantity
it's
over
probably
quality.
yeah, it's probably also because the Indian Cricket Board don't make enough money, so therefore they can't.
Yeah.
It's probably
That's
why.
it.
It's probably why.
The best captain you have seen from the day we got our test status.
Arjun Ranatunga.
Is it because he won the World Cup, or it's overall best?
The way sort of, if you sort of even today, if you sort of see Arjuna with some of the players who have played under him, you get the feeling that he is really in command in that place. Amazing
Yep.
respect people have for him, and his on-field knowledge and stuff. The moves that he does and the passion with which he plays. Quite a few things to admire, and then comes Mahela, pretty interesting captain he is as well.
Yeah, street smart and cricketer and a captain, always. But one thing you said a little while ago, you thought that Sanjeeva Ranatunga is a better cricketer, mate.
He's my favorite. I thought the question was who's my favorite.
Really?
So it's got to be Sanjeev.
Right,
Oh,
It's a very interesting guy, and I think if not for Arjuna, Sanjeev would have played a lot more cricket as well.
Yeah, the best captain. All right, okay. I think there is no argument. Pips, we agree that he's the man, and I think very fortunate to play under him. And it was a fantastic captain. We can talk another episode about Captain Cool if we have to. And best batsman you have seen?
Brian Charles Lara.
Well, why? That's okay.
It's just I happened to cover that series in 2001, and he scored 684, I think, 684 runs in 6 innings. Amazing batsman, and
but that's the time when Murali was at his peak, right?
At his peak as well. And a couple of years later, Charit, after this incident, the World Test Championship was happening in Sydney, and I was in Sydney, and I happened to go to the team hotel, the Four Seasons in Sydney. Aravind De Silva was a selector. I happened to go to meet Aravind at the team hotel, and so I saw Brian, and I went up to Brian and said, "Hey, Brian, I'm from Sri Lanka. I covered that series in 2001 when you made 600 odd runs against us." So Brian looked at me and said, "Go away, you are stealing runs from me. I did not score 600 odd runs. I scored 684 runs in that."
Wow. And the most interesting part of it is I think the West Indies lost the series.
Yeah, 3-0.
No one else scored. But it was Brian, it was Lara. It was Lara against Sri Lanka. I think that was one hell of a one.
I think the press went a little bit overboard, and we were saying all sorts of good things about the Sri Lankan team, how good we were and stuff like that. And we were actually saying that this team was as good as Don Bradman's Invincibles. And Brian came for the press conference, and Brian said, "Okay, man, you guys are coming to the West Indies next year. We'll show you, man. We'll show you how to prepare wickets." And then we went to the West Indies, and we didn't fare too well. And after the series was over, West Indies won the series. Brian came for the press conference, saw us, smiled and said, "You guys wrote shit. Now eat it."
Yeah, interesting character. Is another interesting personality that cricket world has seen. I think most of those West Indies players, from Chris Gale, and I think starting from Garfield Sobers, and there are lots of stories, about them and behind them, and they're like very, very easygoing. Just the way they live, in the streets of Jamaica and in the West Indies, they play their cricket. It's amazing. It's not it's very different to a posh Englishman getting out there playing, and a Jamaican or a guy from Antigua, just coming into bat like Viv Richards. The attitude and the free flowing personalities, and that's a different ball game. It's all West Indies are it's a class above their own. The best cricketing nation, mate. Overall, whom do you consider?
West Indies.
Wow.
West Indies.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
Okay.
mean,
Goa. Interesting, isn't it, mate? It's coming from a very senior journalist. That
Is there any
I
particular reason,
You
Rick, you call them out
yeah. I
there?
mean, the amount of players that they've produced. One day, we were in New Zealand. We were having a dinner at one of our friends' houses, Athu. So there was a Kiwi, there was a Sri Lankan, myself, Asoka was there, and there was an Englishman, there was a guy from West Indies. So Asoka asked us to give our all-time best 11, from each country. So I gave mine, the English guy gave his, the New Zealander gave his, and the West Indian guy suddenly started with Gordon Greenwich, Desmond Haynes, the three Ws, Sir Gary Sobers, Wes Hall, Jeffrey Dujon. It just went on like that. And then, someone said, hang on. You're not including Sir Viv Richards in that team? So this guy looked at us and said, no, man, this is not from the West Indies 11, man. This is the Barbados 11, man. Just imagine it's just a small country,
Yeah.
Barbados, 250,000 people. Imagine the amount of cricketers they produce. The three Ws, Gordon Greenwich, Desmond Haynes, Sir Gary
Can't
Sobers.
argue with that.
Unbelievable.
Can't argue with that. Wow.
Yeah, it's there's a quick that she's one of our regular participants and one of the guests on the show. Rex, you probably know Carol, and former Sri Lanka basketball and netball player Carol Toza. She's asking, guys, in the day, top private companies put in a lot of effort to develop and support club players who then moved on to play for Sri Lanka. Sadly, this is no more. What does Rex have to say? Read that. Could that be one of the reasons our players are not as well prepared for the big stage?
Oh yeah, I think that's a problem not only with cricket, even with basketball as well. If I may to quote few names, companies like HNB and Maharajas used to spend heavily on basketball. Those days, the mercantile finals between HNB and Maharajas, they used to have all the Sri Lankan players. But unfortunately, both teams don't play in mercantile. Maharajas don't play at all, and HNB, I think they're playing in a very lower division. So is Sampath Bank, another firm that has been heavily supporting the sport. So it's very sad, it's up to the mercantile firms to sort of, support the sport, and, by supporting that, they can sort of raise the standards for sure.
Great stuff. And then look, I was going to ask you, what's your all-time 11 from the day cricket, the greatest 11 that you...
Wow.
You just freeze, I think, because of the question.
Yeah, just Rex. Yeah, I think Rex, froze, for the tough question. Yeah, it's an interesting character to have on the show, mate. It's a wealth of experience that this guy has. But he's really surprised me with most of his answers, mate. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
I think
yeah, Rex is back. No worries, mate. Yeah, we asked you.
Yeah,
just name your all-time greatest 11.
Is it the Sri Lanka 11 or the world 11?
Okay, first give your world 11, then we go on to Sri Lanka 11.
All right, so I'd go with. I've not had any time to prepare, so I'll have to sort of be sharp. I think I'd go with Desmond Haynes opening the innings with Samath Jayasuriya, and I would have Brian Lara at number 3, and number 4 would be Sir Viv Richards. Number 5 is got to be Arjun Ranatunga, and he'll be my captain as well. Number 6, number 6 would be Steve Waugh. Number 7, Kumar Sangakkara will be my wicketkeeper as well. And then number 8, Wasim Akram. What a fantastic bowler he is. My favorite bowler all time. Number 9, it would be Malcolm Marshall. And
Right?
number 10 would be Shane Warne, and the last man, number 11, Mutai Muridhan.
This guy should be a selector, mate. Look at his team.
Yeah,
He's got he got a couple of fast bowlers in the mix. He got a couple of spinners, and he's a
that's a great sign.
master. Man, he should be a national selector. Unbelievable, right? Good stuff, mate. I was going to ask, that like perhaps you are short of one fast bowler, in your
Yeah, I've
squad.
got two, but then I'll have Steve Waugh bowling a couple of overs of
Oh, you
wicket
got
pace
this.
as
Oh,
well.
there you go, boy. This
And
guy's a genius.
if I need, I can
You
ask
got it.
Arjuna to bowl a couple of overs as well.
Go.
Who's
There you go.
who's
Arjuna has a
captaining?
cover.
Who's the captain? Who's the
It's a
captain
tough,
of that team?
it's a tough call between Steve Waugh and Arjuna, but I think I'd go for Arjuna.
He said Arjuna. He said Arjuna.
You did. Yeah. No, it's
Yeah,
Are
he
you
said.
okay? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
depending on who you're playing, you can pick and choose, and I mean, you can't argue with that side. That's a tremendous,
Char-
All-time
Yep.
Sri Lankan 11, mate. All-time Sri Lankan 11.
Yeah, so that'd be Siddharth Vettamuni and Sanat Jayasuriya. Number 3 would be Kumar Sangakkar. 4, Aravind De Silva. Number 5, Mara Javadana. 6, Arjuna Ranatunga. 7, Prasanna Jayawardena. Number 8, Chaminda Vas. Number 9, Romesh Ratnayaka. Number 10, Muthaiya Muralidharan. And number 11, Ranganera.
Goa.
Wow.
Wow.
I have to say, I'm surprised the name Prasanna Javardhan. Is there any particular reason you pick him?
Just, I think
Best wicket
if
keeper.
you sort
Best
of
wicket keeper.
Charit, wicket keeper. Charit would be in a better position to tell than me, I would say. I think the best wicket keeper that we've produced is in the Test era. It's got to be between Mahesh Gunatilaka and Prasanna Jayawardena. I've got 2 super spinners, so I think the best guy that I've seen keeping wickets for spin is Prasanna Jayawardena, so I would pick him ahead of Mahesh Gunatilaka.
and Boa also Prasanna towards the end of his career had a very good batting record as well.
Oh yeah, guys!
He did.
When we toured England in 2011, we
Yeah.
toured England in 2011. Man of the series was Prasanna Jayawardena.
Yeah, from the little I watched, I always felt that he never got the chance to fully realize his potential. But yeah, when he was on song, he was a very good batsman. And I remember when he was playing school cricket and domestic cricket, he was very prolific run scorer.
I think he had
Well, no reference about the guy.
solid 6 years from 2006 onward to 2012. He was part of the side. He was a regular member of the side, but then he had this injury. And then, he had to sort of go out and probably, by the time he was trying to make a comeback, it was too late for him.
Brilliant, mate. Who's the best manager? That's a tricky one.
Sorry, Charit. I think I'd have to go for Mr. Ajit Jayasekara.
Of course, he's a wing commander and solid guy, mate.
Yeah, there
and
was
I
this
learned a lot from.
incident in South Africa during the 2003 World Cup. I think lots of you might not know. Mr. Jayasekara wanted Murli sent home on disciplinary reasons. And so when this happened, guys like Aravinda and Sanat, they got together and they tried to go to the manager's room and calm him down and tell him okay, take it easy. And these are massive figures of Sri Lankan cricket. So Mr. Jayasekara apparently told them, look guys, you might have played for your country and you might have captained your country, but I've fought for my country and don't try to teach me discipline. And they had to sort of take a backward step, and eventually Murali had to apologize to the manager as well, and all was forgotten, and we moved on without any incident.
Officer and a gentleman. He's officer and a gentleman any day, mate. By the way, that was a question from Manikam Surya Kumar. Another question, mate. Rex, in your opinion, who was the most undersung Sri Lankan Test cricketer?
Sorry, Charit, I didn't get the question.
The most undersung, underrated probably. That's what he meant.
Chaminda Vas. I don't think he gets the credit for all the things that he has done, and I think he got a raw deal.
Who did you say, Chaminda Vas?
Yeah, I don't think he gets credit for lots of things that he has done, and I think he got a raw deal when it came to the captaincy. There were a few issues going on, and he was sort of made to step down as vice captain, and I feel for the guy.
Right. The same guy is asking, what about Chamara Silva?
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of Chamara. He should have made his Test debut in 2002. Uh, there were all kinds of politics going on. The Test debut was delayed to 5 years, Charit. And when he made his Test debut in Christchurch, he got a pair. And he got a
Yeah.
pair, and there was lots of pressure on the team management to drop him for the second Test in Wellington. But hats off to Myla and Tom Moody. They said no, we are going to stick with him, and he got 100 for us. He won the match
Yeah.
for us in Wellington. Actually, he got 152 not out, I think, in the second innings.
I
And he won
remember
the
it.
game for us. Super player.
And gentlemen, a quick thing. I don't think many people actually remember this, but everybody credits Mahendra Singh Dhoni for the helicopter shot. But if I remember right, I think Chamara Silva also used to play his own version of a helicopter shot, and he started playing way before
Yeah, yeah,
MS
yeah.
Dhoni.
You see, the thing is, we Sri Lankans, our Sri Lankan players don't get credit for much of the things. As Sunil Gavaskar said recently, at that knock of Kusal Janit Pereira, the 153 not out he got in Durban last year, had it been played by an Australian or Englishman, they would have said that's the greatest innings of all time. And unfortunately, he happens to be a Sri Lankan, and he doesn't get the credit that he richly deserves.
Mate, guys, Chamara Silva, I think, he's captain in Bloomfield. I don't know how old Chama is, probably
He's
he's in his
40,
early 40s.
Yeah, he's
41
40.
this
He's
year.
40 years old.
He'll be
Boa, if he's still
41 this year.
bowling,
Yeah.
if he
Wow.
starts sweeping, even on the fifth toss up, he would still sweep you, mate. I'm yet to see a sweeper like Chamara Silva. He's an amazing guy. I'd say that. So funny.
Yeah,
Another guy is
he
asking
brings that to
you.
the roof.
Here we
Yeah.
go. Rexy, what about Chamara Kapugedara? Do you have some kind of love affair going between you guys, or what's the story there, mate?
I think, Charit, you see, Chamara Kapugedara made his Test debut when he was 18 years old. You know where?
Yeah.
Of all places, at Lords.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We had another guy who was making his Test debut. Same story in 1984 when Dulip got those 193. We had another guy who made his Test debut when he was 18. You guys can make a guess. Yeah, it was Arvind De Silva. Arvind made his Test debut in 1984 at Lords. So Chamara in
Right.
2006 he made his Test debut at Lords as well, and lots of people thought that he's got the ability to sort of go on to accomplish something like what Arvind did. But I think big question marks about his commitment and stuff like that. He didn't push hard enough, I feel, and had he done so, I think he would have ended up with a success. Sad.
Yeah, I know.
Just a quick,
That's
sorry.
Yes, lad. Go ahead, mate. Go
No,
ahead.
Chamar is actually a friend of mine as well, and I remember a couple of times having a drink with him. I told him, I think this was when I was really, really drunk. I think I told him that, dude, you're so unlucky when you play international matches. If there was only one fielder on the leg side, you'll be the only batsman who will hit the ball straight to that guy and get out. He's just had he's had horrendous luck, hasn't he, at the international stage?
You mean Kapugedara or Silva?
Yeah, Kapugedara. He would get unplayable balls, or the pitch would do something really funny, or he would play an amazing shot straight to the fielder. He had so many dismissals like that.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't want to disagree with you, but then personally, I think he didn't try hard.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. You said you didn't have the heart.
I think he
Try
didn't
hard.
really. Yeah, he didn't push hard enough. He should have done more with the skill that he's got.
I think Kapu is very close to me as well. And to answer that question, I think I partly agree with what Rex said. Perhaps one of the most talented cricketers that I have ever come across in my life, and he was given a lot of opportunities, but unfortunately, perhaps Kapu did not make the most of it. In my life, what I have realized. Talent alone is not going to take you anywhere. Probably Rex would say the same thing about me, that from the time I played, talent is I think, I don't know, Boa, probably it'll help you 20%, mate. You have to have I think it's 60-70% hard work, and
You've got
the
to be
rest
the
is
hardest worker in the room. You've got to be the hardest worker in the room. Talent will get you so.
Look at someone like Thilan Samravir. I mean, when he started,
absolutely,
he was basically
yeah.
off spinner who could bat a bit, but then he knew as an off spinner he had no chance to go on to play international cricket, and he converted himself into a batsman. He scored heaps of runs in domestic cricket, scored heaps of runs for Sri Lanka A, and he ended up, scoring more Test runs than Arjun Ranadunga.
There you
So,
go.
gentlemen, the best example I can give you in the current context is Neil Wagner, the South African-born left-arm fast bowler for New Zealand. Hardest worker in the room. His arsenal. He's just got that one short ball, but what he does is hard every single time. And just when you think, how the heck are you going to get out for this guy? He ends up with a 5-wicket match bag. And I must admit, when I first saw him, I don't, what is this? This is all just overrated rubbish. But the more I look into his stats, the more I look at some of the domestic cricket he plays here in New Zealand, there's one consistent trait. That is, he works hard. He's the hardest worker in the room. And every time he gets picked to play for the country, he deserves it.
He's rock solid, isn't he, mate? I have seen Wagner, like he bowls a hard ball and keeps the batsman guessing. And he's a guy, every time you give the ball to him, that you expect something to happen, he gives 300%. I don't know how long that boy is going to play, but I wish him all the very best, because it feels that he gives 300% every time he gets the ball. That's the kind of bloke that I would have in my side any day. It's a hard-working player.
He's the most coachable guy, and as a coach, those are the sort of guys you want who just show up and do their jam to the best of their ability.
Yep.
You'll be surprised. I don't know if this caught me by surprise just looking at the stats. He has 206 wickets, guys. 206 wickets at an average of 26 and an economy rate of 3.06 in tests. Yeah. That's insane, isn't it? I never realized that he's got 200 wickets.
I mean, in the recent he concluded Australian series, I mean, Black Caps got absolutely, donkey licked. But Wagner, he really had Steve Smith's number. It was incredible.
Mate, the messages are still coming in. Just Chintak Ranabao. Hi, Rex, do you think Graham LeBroy and Wendell LeBroy were they underrated? I don't know what it means.
I haven't seen much of Wendell LeBroy. Graham LeBroy, I think, played in the wrong era. I mean,
he played with me,
Yeah, he didn't play a single game in Sri Lanka. All his matches for Test cricket overseas, and such a sad. I mean, lots of guys, Charit, you included, who played in that wrong era. Between '87 to sort of, mid '90s. If you take Brendan Kurupu, makes a double hundred on debut in 1987, and he doesn't play another Test match at home, and ends up with playing 4 Test matches overall. Such a sad situation. It's the case with all the guys, who played in the 80s and 90s, and due to the situation in the country, there was very little cricket happening at that time, and also there were no things like the FTPs, and played in the wrong era, unfortunately.
Absolutely, mate. There's another question for you. Can you tell why there is no permanent position for Bhanuka Rajapaksa in T20 tournament?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of criticism
on T20 format at least.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think a lot of criticism on leaving out so many guys who featured in that 3-0 whitewash in Pakistan, particularly Dasun Shanaka, and then Bhanuka Rajapaksa and so many other players. I hope once these guys sort of show some skills, that they get a sort of long rope and there's consistency in their selection. And Charit, there's someone that I really admire, and same with you. I think Graham Ford. I think when he was the head coach, he was keen on once someone sort of identified, he was keen on giving that player a decent outing before pushing him out of the side, and that's the way it should be, I think.
Yeah, I hope Bhanuka will find his way back into the team. But he had a brilliant outing in Pakistan. It's a little unfortunate that he left out. Mate, there's more questions. Rex, in the nicest possible way, who is the luckiest Sri Lankan cricketer to play Test cricket? For England, it was Tony Piggott, who just happened to be in New Zealand when many bowlers were injured. Hilarious.
You want me to really answer that question, Charit?
I think it's me.
No, not really. I think the Kamaratna boy was pretty lucky, who made his test debut at Canberra last year.
Oh,
Yeah, he was pretty lucky. Who else can be? Yeah, I think he's the guy who comes to my mind immediately.
yeah. And I must tell you this very quickly before we wind up Boa, how I ended up playing Test cricket. It was in New Zealand, and before the Wellington Test, we were down to 3 openers. I think it was Hashan open batting, and Roshan was to open with him. I was the third. I was the standby opener. Day before the match, and we usually had a rest day. I think those days we did we have a rest day? No, we played 5 days here at a stretch. Anyways, day before the match, Roshan decided to go for a quick net, and he asked me to come and help him out. And we walked into this one of these small Indo nets, and that didn't have a proper bowling machine. That had like a baseball machine, and the balls were like going about in very awkwardly. And Roshan wanted to have a quick knock, just what we call a top up, just the day before the game. And so I was just pushing the balls. We started, pushing the balls at 60. Roshan hit, about 20 balls. It's perfect. He said, mate, increase it 70, another 20 balls. He was feeling good. And another 20 balls, at 80, Roshan is middling it well. And then couple more. And Roshan said, before you wind up, mate, how far can you go? I said, it says, you can go up to 90 plus, but it says you nuts. There's a question mark. Roshan said, push it. So I pushed it to 90 plus, and I remember that ball leaving the machine like a missile. It took off and hit Roshan on the famous toe of his. that toe was always dodgy, got hit by Waka a couple of times. And all I saw was the ball leaving the machine, Roshan's bat flying up in the air, and Roshan flat on the ground. I'm trying to take his shoe off, and the toe nail came out of the sock, and Roshan was sent home. And that is how Charit and I ended up playing the first test.
Is that in Wellington, Charit?
Yeah, around the got 220. I got off for a duck and fielded for 800 runs.
Yeah, 267.
I
And
that's
there was also the famous test match where Martin True and Andrew Johns had that partnership, 527,
That's right.
I think.
That's correct.
Yeah. Imagine getting off for a duck and fielding for 800 runs. No fun, mate. I came back and got 70 or something the second test.
That's the second test. Remember that score.
Yeah, I saved the game. Yeah, and mate, before we wind up, guys, this is a very funny story. I kept it as the last. He mentioned Graham Ford's name here. Now, when we invited Rex to come on the show, he said, mate, sure, I'll come on the show. He said, they asked me, what time? I said, 9 o'clock. He said, I have certain principles in my life, which I don't do after 9 o'clock. And I said, there are certain people whom I have met in life, have given me certain advices, and I follow them very strictly. One of them, he said, which is very close to Rex. Tell us the reason why you did not want to do this show after 9 o'clock. Please. And my show is called A Drink with Charit. And you can see Boa is having a beer. I'm having a beer. Aslan is sipping a beer. And Rex Clementine, we all have, tell us the reason why you did not want to come on the show after 9 o'clock.
My Iraq is waiting downstairs, Charit.
Oh, yeah. That's the character of the man. I did not expect any other answer, less answer from Rex. Rex, before you wind up, mate, is there anything that you want to add to the story, and some really, really funny story which you encountered as a journalist through this journey of your life, and anything that you want to say? There are many journalists who are coming up in life who wants to emulate you, and just how do you pass on your experience, and what is your advice to all administrators, cricketers, and people who are aspiring to be journalists in life?
Yeah, so I mean, to the young guys who are interested in the profession, now that there's social media and all that, sometimes, the players, what they do off the field is pretty much scrutinized. It's something that Richie told me and a couple of others when we were in Australia a couple of years ago. He said, guys, your job starts once the players cross that boundary road. And your job ends once they come out of that boundary road. What they do afterwards is none of your business. That's the best piece of advice that I've got in my
Very
journey.
profound. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, very profound. Yes. Yeah. Guys, like you want to ask Rex anything before we say bye to him. They're so grateful having Rex on the show. Anything that you need to ask him, because he's now he must be, his fingers and his body, his mind, soul, everything must be itching for his the delicacies, all waiting and drinks on the house before we let Rex go. Anything that you need to ask him.
Now, mate, look, real pleasure. I never dreamt that I'd actually be on show, co-hosting with, talking with you. Nothing but respect. I mean, the knowledge, ability for you to pull names, numbers, statistics, just like that. That just tells you, an absolute expert in your field. I have nothing but massive respect for people of that ilk.
Thanks,
And, I
guys.
really enjoy reading your stuff. And, I host a show on the Papre called Straight Up Rugby. So all I can say is I appreciate your straight up cricket. Good on you.
Thank you.
Well done, Boa. Azlan, your parting words, mate.
Yeah, Rex, absolute pleasure having you and having this conversation today. Fantastic stuff. And even though we couldn't get you into our platform, I'm still glad that in some other way, today is probably not 1 year since Ashwin mancated Butler, but it's also probably a year since we asked you to join.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me on the show.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Charit, great stuff by you. I really enjoy watching this program and glad that, you invited me as well. And I really enjoyed coming today. And keep up the good work, Charit.
All the best.
Thanks, Rex. I hope that, by the way, Rex, he's one guy who always, sends a feedback and says, keep it going. And at times like this, people want, something to listen into and, keep them going. And that's what we were trying to do, Rex. Just before we wind up, before you guys came on the show, I think, Boa was there briefly. We started off the show with a request from a group of women call themselves, women in need. There is, in these troubled times, Rex, it's very unfortunate to mention the fact that the domestic violence has escalated, to alarming rates. And it's getting a little out of hand. You can understand, people staying indoors, their mindset, and perhaps for a very long time that the men are spending a lot of time together with their families, and many reasons can trigger situations. But how you handle them, be sensible. And the abuse of women, we spoke about in one of our previous shows, and we said it's not on. It's criminal, it's immoral, it's unacceptable, and do not go there.
And also, Charit, that's simply not cricket. That's not on. That's not something that can be accepted. I saw the press release from the General Hospital as well that the domestic violence is on the increase. It's very sad, and people sort of need to act with responsibility moving on.
Exactly, Rex. Those are our parting words, people. Be responsible for your actions. Take care of your loved ones. And be an example to the world, and do not abuse your women and children. And that's not on. That's not sports. We shall not accept at all costs. On that note, I think, gentlemen, it's a pleasure having you on my show once more. Grateful, privileged, and hopefully we'll catch the stranded Barmy Army supporter in Sri Lanka tomorrow for a chat. Now, I'm telling you, that guy is hilarious. That he got lots of stories to say. Hopefully, we'll get him online tomorrow, provided that he finds his way back from Gaul to Colombo, and that he finds accommodation. We'll try and get him online. Until then, good night. Stay safe. Take care, Rex.
Thank you,
signing, mate.
Take care, guys.
Grateful. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.